You know, the zones got this way of wearing you down, not with fangs or bullets, but with routine. Given enough time and enough friction, the whole sense of adventure starts to rot away, and then it hits you. This place is so... shit. I highly doubt there's a faction that I could fit into.
После того, как разрешилась судьба Голубого шара, в окрестностях Припяти прошла серия выбросов. Немногочисленные известные тропы в город, ныне перекрытые стеной аномалий. Но не все дороги ведут в Припять. На севере много тайн, и самые сильные группировки зоны готовы платить кровью и свинцом, чтобы раскрыть их. На новых территориях развернется старая война. Ты присоединился к рубежу. Группировки, считающие своим долгом защиту человечества от зоны. Бойцы рубежа не понаслышке знают о мутантах и аномалиях, обо всем том зле, с которым они вступают в борьбу каждый день. Рубежники твердо знают, зону нельзя бездумно эксплуатировать или обожествлять, как делают другие группировки. Зону надо сдерживать. Именно эту миссию взял на себя рубеж.
The first guy you'll meet here is Godan. He's the commandant's right-hand man.
Здорово, новобранец.
And your designated babysitter until they're sure you won't panic and paint the walls with your own brains the moment the going gets rough. Remember that mutant you killed, Bagant? Hopefully that wasn't a fluke. Your first assignment is to find a squad leader named Brazen and, if needed, help his team mop up a mutant problem. Usually these problems don't happen this close to base, but Brazen got saddled with a squad of walking disasters. Men so dysfunctional, even he might have gotten dragged along with them. So yeah, go make sure they haven't accidentally shot their own commander.
Hey, chef.
Funnily enough, you won't find them in some sort of deep, dangerous territory. A short walk away and nearby some buildings is one of the group's members, standing in place and looking stupid while hoping someone might come to their rescue. Giving you the coordinates to where his leader is currently resting after an encounter gone wrong, you'll find Brazen, their squad leader, giving them a bit of a reprimand.
Грёбаные идиоты!
These guys are really insubordinate. Or maybe they just don't take the job seriously? Their squad leader needs stitches, so this little hunting expedition is done on their end. Luckily, that means you get to finish what they didn't even start with while they bring Brazen back to base. Hopefully they won't find a way to fuck that up as well. Coming back home, you'll find Godan talking to a stalker by the name of Bering. If you've got a keen eye, you've probably already recognized his armor. It's typically worn by soldiers, and the words he uses seem to imply that he was sent in due to orders from the army itself. After much bureaucratic jet lag, of course, since Godan doesn't seem to recall being told Bering was coming. When asked about it, Godan will let you in on the fact that the military and Frontier have an unofficial partnership. One of the ways Frontier pays for the army's favor is by taking in soldiers and training them into military stalkers. After all, you can't really train for zone conditions any place but the zone, right? And even the most condecorated Spetsnaz soldier will die if he doesn't realize he's stepping into an anomaly. Still, it sounds like the relationship is a little strained at the moment. But that doesn't matter right now, dude, so stop wasting your time. Your current task is to head out to a place named the Bear's Den and recover some supplies left behind by newbies after they ran away pissing and screaming. This Bear's Den place seems to be quite a breeding ground for mutants, so keep an eye out. A stray signal. Scary. Once you have the materials, you can go back for debriefing. Godan is having a conversation with Frontier's leader, Davidov, regarding some sort of ambush that some bookworms at a certain scientific research institute set up. Not that you'll get to find out much more about it, since making yourself known will make Godan switch topics to instead introduce you and what a fine soldier you are. Much to Davidov's pleasure, since, seemingly, there's dark days coming for Frontier. The rumors about Frontier's and the military's relationship breakdown are true. In fact, they're probably worse than you could have imagined. While Frontier offered information, consultation, and training of special zone-savvy units, the military helped them with all the resources necessary to maintain such an operation. Due to Frontier's doctrine, you might imagine why they can't just work as hired guns, or selling artifacts, or doing whatever it is that Covenant does to keep the lights on. Several high-ranking officers within the army knew that poorly trained conscripts on checkpoints wouldn't be able to contain the bedlam within the zone, and so they provided Frontier with the necessary equipment, up until now that is. Their new bedfellows are the ZIVCAS Research Institute. Their business used to be that of equipment development, but they've recently grown their operations and turned into a whole corporation, even creating their own private army, the ZIVCAS Spetsnaz. Not only do they have the support of the military, but they even claim to be training military stalkers themselves. Despicable shit, but there's little you can do from here, so what can you do right now for Frontier's benefit?
По какому вопросу?
This is Peregrin, head of the military stalkers on Frontier premises. He works directly with the military, but ever since relationships broke down, he's been stranded here along with his entire platoon of militaries in training, which goes to show just how sudden of a relationship breakdown this was, leaving assets behind like that. Still, he claims to be on good terms with Davidov, so there's no tension there. He's talking with Bering, the last addition to his team, who has a little bit of a staring problem. Preparing for a little raid into the Bear's Cave, seemingly the main sources of issues in this otherwise lazy place. Mutants crawl out of there no matter how many of them you clear up. They must breathe fast in those depths. According to Frontier scientists, it's tied to a cavern system hosting many anomalies, so unless you want to crack the entire region in half, you can't just blow this place up. It has to be done manually, killing mutants until they quiet down. Just how fucked up of a place this is becomes pretty obvious when you enter, many corpses being found along the way, undoubtedly victims to this cave's inhabitants, and with good reason. Boars are mostly harmless, but ever heard of a psionic boar? What a novel concept, truly unheard of any time ever in the history of ever. It might be formidable in lore, but in gameplay it's pretty easy, all things considered. So, go home. Davidov and Godan are talking about some sort of informant upon your return. You seem to arrive right on time to greet him too. ZIVCAS Spetsnaz forces have encroached pretty deep on northern territories, even taking a slice of the Forge's territory for themselves. They also seem to be hiring, which is why Godan sent out a guy to infiltrate their ranks and gather intel, particularly on the military frontier situation. Godan's guy is afraid to come too close to base, fearing he might compromise his disguise. Instead, it's up to you to go meet him somewhere he's comfortable. Apparently, he's got something quick to say, and then he's running right back home.
Князь не забыл, как ты отнял его триумф. Считаешь, что сможешь укрыться от его гнева? Очень опрометчиво, искатель.
Yes? That's a name I never thought we'd hear again. Upon arrival to the designated place, you'll come across Godan's spy, a ZIVCASer by the name of Executioner.
Я палач.
He's got nothing to tell you, rather he's got a foul-smelling package that supposedly needs to be carried back to base. Godan will understand, says Executioner. And so what can we do but give the package to Godan, hand it over and... Oh look.
Илья, суки ZIVCAS мне за это ответят.
Executioner wasn't a spy after all, it would seem. Instead, he just delivered our spy's head back to us, or at least what remains of it after it was tenderized with a sledgehammer. Ilya was this man's name, if that's of any importance to you.
Беда, Давыдов! На северную станцию напали!
Trouble doesn't end here. One of Frontier's outposts is under attack. My money's on it being ZIVCAS. Head out there and assess the situation.
А ты убери-ка это.
This is Yushke, one of the many men who were stationed here. This place is actually among the safest in the barrier, so much so that even the mutants from Bear's Den don't pop up around here much. Which is to say, this is an easy spot with nothing but newbies. If they're under attack from ZIVCAS Spetsnaz, then it's poised to be a massacre. Yushke even lets you know that communications went down, so chances are the ZIVCASers are using some sort of jammer to isolate these rookies and mow them down. Truly Machiavellical shit. Time to throw a wrench in that.
Ты мне прям под ноги шмальнул, батрак. Сначала борзой, теперь вот это. Что, зрение подводит?
Да чё ты опять завелся, хипарь? Считаю, у нас есть повод для радости. Мы все еще живы, все трое.
Пластинка, хватит путаться у меня под ногами. Я на этот раз чуть в хиппи не попал. Ты в обычной жизни маячишь, что аж тошно. Ну в бою зачем скакать, как кролик?
By the time the dust has cleared, the only people remaining are you, Yushke, and come to find out, the Madcaps. For as useless as they are, they alone managed to survive this ordeal. Surprising, but good. The folks back home should be glad about this.
Это были ZIVCASовцы. Вот ведь черти.
Godan is pretty pissed about this, actually. Not to sound like a broken record, but without the military support, Frontier's financing options are pretty limited. Ilya, his spy, got his head turned to mush, and now ZIVCAS are doing moves in barrier territory to try and intimidate Frontier. Davidov is off somewhere, taking in all the information and figuring out a plan. Where does that leave you? Well, you know the Madcaps, you know the biggest pieces of useless shit no one ever seems to manage to control? Well, fucking guess, you're promoted to Squad Commander. Their Squad Commander, no less. These are Plastinka, Hippie, and Farmhand. known affectionately by Frontier members as the Madcaps, on account of the fact that they're losers, whether alone or in a group. Though from the fact that they've survived the encounter with ZIVCAS, there's probably a little bit more to them than everyone assumes. So how about you find out what that is? Godon advises you to get to talking to them, learn their strengths and weaknesses, and then come back with a report. This Four Eyes is Farmhand. Don't let his nerdy look trick you. He came to the zone and joined Frontier after seeing a couple of pictures of how this place looked before it becoming what it is, thinking how awful it would be for other places to end up like here. I'd say he's a pretty reckless dude, but I'm sure he's not more reckless than most people around here.
Я человек простой. На медика отучился, в жизни на большой земле нигде и никому не пригодился.
Shit, I feel that, man. People talk a lot of shit about you being valuable to them, but then your presence is barely tolerated. He's also made it to the north, which is an impressive feat, in lore at least, making a name for himself by being handy with a medkit.
Damn it, I need some help over here.
You should get a medal.
Without a hitch.
О, здорово, шеф.
This chatty dude is Plastinka. He's weird. He's into smoking hookah, being all happy and lackadaisical, so you might think he'd fit better somewhere like Rice, but instead he chose the paramilitary group founded by ex-soldiers. He's really proud about being himself, which I kinda like. He also lets you know right away that some of his attitude can be attributed to the fact that it's an act. You know, if you act laid back and cool, you'll keep things laid back and cool. No need to lose your shit, right? Like a weird sideways version of stoicism.
Жаль, разговаривать с тобой – одно сплошное удовольствие.
And last but not least, there's Hippie.
Снова ты?
He acts like a hard ass, but I think he's just an asshole. Seemingly he tried for the army, but was rejected due to a tendency to deviant behavior. I'll leave it up to you what that might mean. Frontier doesn't have any psychiatric evaluations, so it was the best next thing. He's not grumpy, he says. He's pensive, because mental development should go along with physical development. He's gotten this far through the brunt of his physical strength, he says, even admitting to killing a ghoul by squeezing his neck till it broke. I'm half tempted to say this guy is full of shit, and even if he's not, he has a serious attitude problem.
Наконец-то.
After you've chatted them up, it's time to give Godon your assessment on each one of them.
Не могу сказать, что ты идеально справился со своей задачей, но...
Yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't have assigned me a gang of screw-ups if you wanted a perfect job. Don't get too eager to be done with these losers, because it's right back to squad leader duty. Now that you know them, you have to build some sort of rapport with them. Why don't you get chummy with them if you want that so bad, Godon? I joined Frontier to kill people and mutants. People, mostly. Whatever, time to play babysitter.
Помощь. Поддержка.
Hippie will tell you to fuck off. So, try with Plastinka.
Я сейчас расплачусь, шеф.
Yeah, well, not like I have a choice. You need anything? Plastinka is pretty bad at expressing himself in any way that isn't vocal, which is to say, he's got a strong personality, which I can respect, but in military ambience like this, it's not hard to figure out why people see him as other. Isn't there any other method of expression you're into?
Где ж ты в зоне краски и мольберт достанешь?
Yeah, like painting. And so here's our first task. Plastinka needs some, paint, and the local chef is known to be holding on to some high quality paint. Unless he needs them as food coloring, maybe you can ask him to give them to you?
Здорово!
This is Green. He's not exactly a dedicated chef, but he cooks from time to time to make sure people here don't just live off of canned meat. People seem to really like his food too. He has the paint, but he's holding it for an old friend, Roller, out of remembrance it would seem, since he recently went out on a raid and never came back. He's come to terms with that, but he still can't let go of the paints, not just for anyone that is. He just wants to make sure they'll go to a good home. There's some pretty special herbs growing in the area, which will probably go great with his latest dish. Go cut a few branches and bring them back. I always heard the military was mostly just busy work. Looks like Frontier isn't all that different. Coming back, you're just in time. The soup is boiling, and right now is a good time to put the leaves in. Let Green do his work, and he'll give you a couple of jars with hot soup. There's dudes out on patrol right now who could probably use a little pick-me-up like this, so how about you also become the delivery boy and go on a food run? If you make it quick, you might get a reward. A reward? Okay, shit, let me put on my running shoes.
Стой! Кто?
No time to gather dialogue footage, I've got soup to deliver. If you make it a fast delivery, you'll get 10,000 rubles? Thanks for the tip, I guess. At least now you'll get the paint. Plastinka is pretty pleased, so much so that after a little talk, he's pretty set on proposing to paint his teammates' gear, of course if they agree. Maybe if you get them to soften up, they'll be down for it. Meanwhile, Farmhand has a small problem of his own. There's this one higher up, Ersan, that's really been laying into him lately. A real fan of the academic method, he once caught Farmhand lacking on some sort of weapon trivia. Ever since, he's been pestering Farmhand with sudden pop quizzes. Ersan has a really bad tinnitus problem after he stood too close to a grenade, so you can imagine how bothersome it can be to suddenly get yelled at every time you come across someone. That same tinnitus problem might be of use to you though. How about you help Farmhand with his quiz? He gets nervous on the simplest questions, so if you stand nearby as his squad commander, you could nudge him in the right direction. Some might call this cheating, but if you can cheat and not get caught, that's just as valid if you ask me. Being resourceful is also a good skill to have.
Каков базовый размер? Какую из перечисленных винтовок не найти в зоне? Что из перечисленного оружия обладает наибольшей дальностью стрельбы? Какого оружия ближнего боя не найти в зоне? Поверить не могу.
Good job. We're friends now, right, Farmhand?
Ну, почти. Спасибо за помощь, конечно.
Fuck. So, Ersan has been bothering this poor dude for a while now. So much so, he once caught him calibrating his weapon, so to speak. Telling him he should be studying rather than doing that kind of stuff, he confiscated his magazine. What kind of magazine was it exactly, Farmhand?
Ой, не делай вид, что не понимаешь. У всех у нас тут одна слабость.
No need to feel embarrassed. If someone walks in on you, that's on them for not knocking. He says he needs it to be this specific issue too, so the contents must be pretty special. He's sure Ersan placed it somewhere in the in-house storage, so if you truly want to get in his good graces, you'll get it, right? He's even gotten picklocks. Sadly, he doesn't get along with the man guarding it, so this is something only you can accomplish. Let's do it!
Снова привет!
Yusuke is now in charge of guarding this place. Honesty is the best policy, so just tell him a buddy of yours had his magazine confiscated by Ersan. He doesn't have much love for the old man himself, so he'll be pretty easy to convince. You can walk in and take a look, but only if you give him a bottle of vodka before to alleviate his boredom, and only for a minute, so you better make it count. Who even prints these? I've got your smut, Farmhand. Whatever, we're cool now, right? Indeed we are. So much so he'll not only thank you, but he'll let you know about one of Hippie's problems. Apparently, he's been getting bullied by the local auction house dealer, Sparrow. Maybe he'd appreciate some help with this issue. If you go around and talk to the local fence, Komelkov, he'll let you know that Sparrow has a major distaste for Ersan. But Ersan says he won't help, so it's whatever. Let's just do it the old-fashioned way and ask if he'll leave Hippie alone in exchange for a favor.
Перестану шутить над твоим бойцом.
See, everything can be handled with a little conversation. Kill a bunch of mutants, so Sparrow's men can work a little more comfortably in the area. Pretty easy stuff. Coming back, Sparrow will assure you that he won't bother Hippie anymore. Let's go mention that to him.
Спасибо. Спасибо за помощь. Теперь мне станет спокойнее. Пожалуй.
It's called saying thank you, Hippie. Nothing wrong with showing a little gratitude. With the group now softened up, Plastinka will bring up the idea of painting their camo himself. Promising not to write or draw anything too mean on their guns, they'll relent after some hesitation. Farmhand being given a desert camo on his AUG, and Hippie getting a woodland camo on his MPX. Cool gun, by the way. I got that one last Christmas event before Stalcraft X. Now that's a cool camo. Wonder if Plastinka could paint one of my guns like that.
Как работа с косыми, а? Есть успехи?
Back to Godan after that little ordeal. Seems like your new closeness to the Madcaps came right on time. They'll be put to work right away. The situation is looking grim, and Frontier needs all hands on deck. What roles will you be assigning them? Farmhand mentioned being good with a medkit, so he'll be the doctor. Plastinka has the eye of an artist, he'll be the sniper. And Hippie is built like a fucking fridge, so he gets to be the CQC guy. They'll have to do without their commander for now, however. You weren't Godan's first choice, but since everyone everyone else above you is busy, you'll be sent to help out the military stalkers once more. Say hi to Peregrine and Bering again, and this time they've got a little intelligence mission. They've been fucking around with a PDA they got from a ZIVCAS officer, but have been unable to crack into it. Maybe your hacker skills will come in handy, right? This is pretty easy since if you've gotten this far, you've seen this kind of interface a bunch of times during the Blue Sphere storyline. Boom, good job. Upon unlocking it, you'll gain access to a bunch of personal records, particularly some journal entries talking about some blessed dudes called the Twins, and about how often they've been going AWOL lately, going as far as to straying to the Temple Swamps, Covenant's home territory. They must have some pretty tactical minds, considering the fact he mentions they need them to coordinate all squads. This preference they have for harassing people associated with Covenant seems to stem from some sort of personal vendetta. More interestingly for us, there's info on the why regarding the military-frontier relationship breakdown, blackmail, only being mentioned in passing, quickly switching the topic to the Twins disappearing in the barrier this time, along with Executioner ordering an attack on one of the northern outposts, which you've already seen the results of, mentioning that if the Twins are so important to ZIVCAS operations, maybe it'd be better to get rid of them. Also drawing attention to the fact that the Twins have it out for Covenant. Maybe there's something that group of fanatics and its leader, Metropolite, know that we don't? And what a fitting question, since Peregrine will then mention that he sent one of his own men to infiltrate the Covenant a while ago. But he died before such a mission could even begin, mutants from the Bear's Den getting to him. He even gathered infiltration material. Don't let that man's work go to waste. Take out your tracker and go fetch his stash of spy gear. Bering will be carrying the brunt of this operation. He'll get to work behind enemy lines and stay with them for a little while. You've proven to be smart enough to read, so how about checking out this information on Covenant and quizzing the guy? Make sure he'll make a good first impression. Covenant men are known to be pretty intense, so you don't want Bering to be discovered and end up burnt alive or some shit. Once you're done with that, it's back to your commander's next task. ZIVCAS took over a derelict SAM site nearby, which places them a little too close to home for any comfort. Intelligence says that Executioner is leading this occupying force, which Godon is happy about, since he's still pissed about his agent that got his head smashed with a hammer. Godon will lead the operation and they want you to help as well. The Madcaps just returned home and they did so well they'll get the privilege of heading out once more, with you this time. Choose whether you'd like for them to deal with the snipers or the heavy infantry and then head out. They reactivated the old radars here. It'd be a good idea to shut them off. Oh shit! That's a job well done if you ask me.
Ты слышишь? Ты слышишь меня? Помоги.
Someone kicked this bitch from Frontier Frequency already? Back at the commander's table, it's time to talk big. What was found on the ZIVCAS officer's PDA, along with what Godon found after capturing a couple of hostages back at the raid, will paint a clearer picture of everything. ZIVCAS. They used to be a company that manufactured armored suits. They're now set on creating one of their most innovative sets of armor thus far, the Master of the Zone. Their base at Forge 11 is where they developed this suit, recovering documents as they work, incorporating rediscovered research along with their own in-house developments. So their main motivation is money, right? That's probably not the whole story, but it sounds like a pretty convincing answer. Then there's the Twins. Intel suggests that they work as the local guides to ZIVCAS. Blessed with extraordinary abilities while also having a tendency to skip work, they must be dealt with as soon as possible. Finally, and of utmost importance, ZIVCAS's blackmail of the military, forcing them into an alliance and into neglecting their relations with Frontier. Davidov lays it out clear. Without support from the military, Frontier won't last long. This is now a race against time as supplies dwindle and financial stability wanes. Now is not the time to sit idle. Asking for Peregrine and his military stalker's support in the upcoming offensive, Frontier is set on dealing with the threat of ZIVCAS's presence and finding out whatever blackmail they have and find some way to neutralize said material. Staying here is of no further use. It's time to head to the front lines, time to head to the Inflow. Host to a pretty sizable port, despite its size, this used to be a pretty lively town. Its very name comes from the main industry that once kept it alive. Of course, nowadays said name is all that remains of what it once was. The only value this place has right now is its strategic importance between Frontier and Covenant. You probably come to notice that Frontier is pretty similar to the military. Fuck. Similar? More than that. They straight up work and train with military stalkers. This is because their structure is made up mostly of ex-military and soldiers. soldiers. Back when the zone was still young and the phenomena of people breaking in to kill mutants and steal glowing rocks hadn't picked up steam yet, the military kept a pretty tight leash on its perimeter. That is, until the night of Exodus. When asked about it, Godon and Davidov will tell you that this event led to the creation of Frontier in the first place, a massive emission, the first one in fact that not only brought on a massive discharge of anomalous energy from the deepest depth of this place, but the one that also seemingly made massive swarms of mutants and creatures to head straight for the borders, forcing the military into a violent, suicidal struggle for survival against both mutants and the environment, a traumatizing enough event that right then and there, many soldiers broke off from the official military to take upon themselves the task of containing the horrors within. In the Inflow, you'll be staying at an airhouse traffic station, a pretty cushy place. It's not even blown half to shit. How luxurious.
Может, я параноик?
Farmhand is feeling paranoid. The military abandoned Frontier for ZIVCAS, yet there's still military stalkers working with Frontier. How can we be sure they're not working for the enemy? For as much as they've been on Frontier's side, so used to be the army as a whole, and yet they still went turncoat on Frontier. Who's to say the small contingent here won't do the same? No one suspects them, they're good friends to Frontier, which is exactly why Farmhand is so worried about them. Paranoid? Yeah, but you make a good point. Keep an eye on them, but only keep an eye on them, okay? Don't get involved in anything.
Рад вашему доверию, командир. Я буду поглядывать за ними. Всего одним глазком. Просто присмотрю.
Davidov will make the situation clear. ZIVCAS is running laps around Frontier, and it all boils down to the twins. There's little Frontier can do against them as of now. Then there's the Covenant. Despite the shared threat, they don't hold any love for Frontier. They're not exactly an elite army, but they're violent and they're fanatical, which makes them almost as much, if not even more of a threat. But since they don't have any magical mediums on their side, any operation against them has a higher chance of actually working. In fact, Bering is done with his infiltration work and an evacuation is being prepared. Go out and eliminate a couple of Covenant squads to thin them out so Bering might have a better chance of sneaking out unharmed.
Nice going.
You won't get to stay for long once you're done though. Bering got found out, and now his extraction is gonna be a bit more forceful than expected. Peregrine is already on site, but Covenant is hot on their trail. Yusuke is also there, but all he'll do is lead you to where the confrontation is taking place. From there on, it's all on you.
Прием! Берегись! Тут обстрелы сраных минометов!
They're bombing the place with mortars. A little overkill, no? Even more fucked up, Peregrine not only got hit, he fucking died. Somebody shed a tear. If not for him, then for yourself. Covenant is now flocking to this place, and the only people here are you and Bering. It's so fucking over, man.
Прием, шеф! Помощь вызывал? Мы тут нашли минометчиков. И решили, что будет неплохо их заткнуть.
Damn, those guys actually aren't bad at all. Someone will come back to take Peregrine's corpse and bury it somewhere, but right now you have to run while you have the chance.
Приветствую. Наконец-то я смогла наладить этот канал связи. Меня зовут Нина. Я в опасности. Без твоей помощи мне не обойтись. Пожалуйста, помоги мне. Они не должны найти меня. Помоги.
Шеф.
Plastinka has a little something he wants to talk about.
А как у тебя, с противоположным полом?
How are you with the opposite sex? Well, if you need to know, Plastinka, I'm not really into girls.
Что? Чего? Шеф, так ты...
Why would I need women when my only love is the zone? But enough fucking around. What's on your mind, bud? Plastinka is quite the ladies' man, or so he claims. His conquers go from an Udmurt woman to a German woman, to Hippie's mom. Recently, he's been in contact with a woman, a little devil as he calls her, a succubus even, in a good way of course. He says she sees right through him, and he loses himself in her. Really passionate shit. Furthermore, on their last little date, she told him that if he was willing to leave the zone, she'd gladly start a family with him. Plastinka is still a young dude, but he's the oldest amongst the young dudes, so maybe it's time. What's your opinion? Well, Plastinka, that's the kind of thing I can't really decide for you on. You've just started your tenure with Frontier, so it might be unsightly for you to leave so soon. On the other hand, a chance at a normal life with a woman that loves you is more than most of us can claim. Just be certain of this, Plastinka. Regardless of what you choose, I'll support it. Don't even doubt it.
Да уж, я ведь уже большой мальчик. Не собираюсь перекладывать на вас свои проблемы, шеф. Но я рад, что вы при любом раскладе на моей стороне. Я об этом еще подумаю. И о зоне, и о нашем долге, и о своей дьяволице. Спасибо. Этот разговор был для меня важен.
Davidov is saddened by the news of Peregrine's death. He was a good friend to Frontier, and without him, the newcomer Bering is paradoxically the highest ranking of all military stalkers stationed here. He agreed to continue supporting Frontier, and despite this loss, there's still some information to be exploited. A ZIVCAS agent named Orpheus, who works as a professional negotiator. He's known to have done business with the Covenant, though it's unclear as to what exactly. He's also associated or knows someone associated to the ZIVCAS army mediations, so he probably knows the specifics of ZIVCAS's blackmail material. You'll get a chance to talk to him, since Bering also found out that the Covenant is planning to attack the station where Orpheus is currently located. If you third-party them, you'll probably get a chance to talk to Orpheus, take the Madcaps with you, and kill anyone who stands in your way who isn't dressed in red and black. Upon arrival, whatever operation Covenant has going on is already in full swing. Luckily, your men already made way. It won't take you long to find Orpheus, complaining about some disguised Covenant member breaking in here and hitting him in the head.
Да что за день такой? Сначала сюда вламывается какой-то переодетый заветоец и лупит меня по башке. А теперь вот рубежники.
Sadly for him, we need everything of his that might carry information. His laptop was already stolen by the member of the Covenant, but his day is shitty enough as it is. He will hand himself over willingly, not wanting to get hit again. If only it were this easy all the time. With the Madcaps' help, escaping is easy enough. Orpheus gave himself up willingly, and overall, the operation was a success. An interrogation is already underway upon return, and while he hasn't said too many things, he does know some specifics about the Master of the Zone. The basic gist of it being that ZIVCAS is developing it with the express purpose of having a method of breaking into Pripyat, the lost city which became even luster when the Great Emission closed it off. The Master of the Zone is a suit so fucking badass, it would grant them the necessary protection to waltz right in. Of course, this is a problem for Frontier, since exploiting and monopolizing the zone goes strictly against their mission statement, even more so if it's a company like ZIVCAS, which has its own private army and isn't afraid of resorting to violence to achieve its own goals. So, what can we do to start fucking with them? Well, Godon has kept busy. He talked to a couple of smart dudes from the inner circle, whatever that means, and was given a couple of scanners, theorizing that for the twins to use their powers, they must generate some sort of energy. Said eruption could then be detected by these scanners, theoretically speaking. So now, theoretically speaking, we need someone to go place them. Theoretically speaking, who could it be? Fucking hell. At least you'll get a cool pin out of this.
Хотел спросить, командир.
Hippie has a little secret he wants to tell you about, since he doesn't have anyone else to talk about it with. He loves reading, especially sci-fi. He thinks it's a nice fantasy to have, considering how dull and grey the world is. What would you like the world to be like, then, Hippie?
Много вариантов.
Well, the zone is a pretty fantastical place in it of itself. Ever tried looking at it a little? Shit, I bet you could even write something interesting yourself.
Приходилось об этом думать. Я начитан. Но начитанность еще не означает, что у меня самого есть талант писателя.
Nonsense? Nah, what you're saying right now is nonsense, man. There's nothing more beautiful than creation. The idea that being amateur is bad, or even something to be ashamed of, is nothing but bullshit. The word amateur means doing it for the love of it, after all. Bottom line, you know what? Fuck it, I will read your story, man.
Вдохновляюще звучит. Спасибо, командир. Выдастся тихий вечерок. Попробую что-нибудь писать. Конечно, вряд ли это произойдет в ближайшее время. Уж какой тут тихий вечерок, когда со мной в одном отряде Пластинка. Ха!
Once you're done with that, all we gotta do is wait for the twins to actually use their powers. In the meantime, Davidov is gonna send Godon over to Rise headquarters to negotiate. Breaking into Fort 11 will be a hard task as the counter-offensive advances, so an alliance might be in order, even if just this once. You won't get to come with though. You have a negotiation of your own to handle. Orpheus, the ZIVCAS dude you just captured, is actually important enough that the organization wants him back alive and well. Your task is to head to a meeting spot, talk to someone, and pass the terms of whatever deal they've got in mind back to Davidov.
Ты переговорщик от рубежа?
This is Phil. He needs Orpheus for some sort of political play within ZIVCAS. When told that Frontier still hasn't found out how exactly they got the army to cut ties with them, he'll tell you that all of this started when a group of individuals within ZIVCAS needed funds to maintain development of a certain project, emphasis on a group of individuals and not ZIVCAS as a whole. The discovery of Forge 11 and the opportunities that the zone provides has fragmented upper management, and they can't give a single unified answer as to how to deal with this matter. The part of ZIVCAS that's interested in the master of the zone blackmailed the military into funneling funding that once belonged to Frontier towards this new suit, Phil even admitting that without it, the project wouldn't have gone anywhere. As you might imagine, it's much too important for it to even be considered for this deal, not willingly at least. Of course, you could always grab whatever blackmail ZIVCAS has and release it to forcefully end this little shotgun wedding early, right? This is where the big reveal comes. Remember back in the day when you were after the Blue Sphere and found out that one of the orderlies were receiving direct support from the military? Most egregiously, they had Colonel Blasov on their side. Blasov himself had broken off with a platoon and was stationed irregularly within the zone. Disregarding whether you think the orderlies were righteous or not, the fact of the matter is that for people in the outside world, this was a fucking disaster. A high-ranking army commander grabbing a bunch of equipment and soldiers, funneling guns and vehicles to a paramilitary organization and working independently from their country's military jurisdiction. Not just that, high-ranking members of the military were aware of this and covering it up. Damn near everyone in the chain of command knew what was going on and no one said anything, or at least not on time. A certain Stoker making sure that Blasov's sad tale ended far too soon for any state-mandated justice to take place. The army is now scrambling to keep this issue under wraps, because if truth comes out to the light, heads will roll. Many of them, if not all of them. Now Phil and his faction within ZIVCAS aren't too fond of the military, and he needs Orpheus and the information he knows to take down a high-ranking member of the organization, Siegfried, head of ZIVCAS Spetsnaz and its main coordinator. So, the terms of the deal are clear. Give Orpheus back to ZIVCAS, alive and well, and in exchange, Phil will leak all the information regarding the Blasov scandal, leading to a complete relationship breakdown and the replacement of all relevant army officers. Frontier, mainly Davidov, will then be free to work his influence once more and regain this asset. Davidov thinks there's probably more to Phil than he lets on, but all that matters is that this is Frontier's best shot at regaining military support. Arranging a meeting to agree to Phil's conditions, you are given your own task. The scanners detected the twins working nearby recently. Sadly for you, there's reports that Covenant is launching a large attack against Frontier, so with all hands on deck, besides Yusuke, who's done the work of a scout and is currently waiting for you, this is all on you.
Stop fucking around! Sorry, man. Without a hitch.
Wish that guy could come with me. Yusuke himself seems to be too terrified to come with you. He'll drop you off in the place ZIVCAS is currently occupying while the twins do whatever it is that they do. Clearing out the outpost will let you find a portal anomaly. After an undetermined amount of time, you will break free of the twins' mind control and be dropped onto their lair where combat will commence immediately. The task is to eliminate this ZIVCAS asset, so get to work.
Ты сделал это. Ты смог. Ты спас меня. Если бы ты только знал, как я тебе благодарна. Я, наконец, в безопасности. Я знала, что могу положиться на тебя. Прости, ты, возможно, злишься сейчас. Я ведь столького тебе не объяснила. Еще не научилась быть последовательной. Скоро свяжусь с тобой снова.
Coming back to Davidov, he'll let you know that the deal with Phil has already concluded. The twins are dead, and Frontier has a chance to regain funding, and the battle with Covenant also went well.
Думаю, мне лучше отпустить тебя к твоему отряду.
What? Okay, so in the battle against Covenant, Plastinka and Farmhand were compromised when Hippie came to the rescue, successfully, but paying the price by taking a bullet between the ribs. If he is to make it out alive, he's gonna need surgery as soon as possible. Okay, no problem. Where's Plastinka again?
Шеф, это ты!
Dude, what the fuck are you doing? The guy who has the tools is right past these stairs. Get a fucking move on!
Не могу! Не получается! Нет ни на что сил! Даже пойти инструменты отыскать не могу!
Okay, fine. Plastinka is too overwhelmed, but fuck it. Fetch quests are our specialty. This guy, Ataev, was supposed to have painkillers to perform the operation. He's all spent, but he knows someone here who might have some. Riga, a military stalker who's addicted to pills, so don't expect them to just hand them over like a good Samaritan. So what can we do? Well, if you distract him, Ataev might just manage to nab some from his stash. You can ask for help from Bering or Ershan, who are also here, but all they can do is give you some info. In the end, the best you can do is tell him that you've got a bit of an addiction problem yourself. According to Bering, he's the type that'll air out his miseries to anyone who'll listen, giving Ataev plenty of time to sneak in and grab some pills.
Да, я сумел их достать. Вот, держи. Надеюсь, это поможет.
Thanks, Ataev. I don't really like doing this sort of thing, but you can't really expect a junkie to be selfless. Now we need tools so farmhand can perform the operation. There's a local who has them in short supply. Giving them to you might just spell death for someone else. Covenant's offensive seems to have left many injured or worse. Come on, man, you surely must have something.
Я дам тебе примерные координаты. Ищи его отряд.
Okay, so there's a wiped out squad that probably still has surgical tools amongst their dead. Tragic, but in a time like this, there's no time to be considerate of the dead's feelings. This was Tarabanco's squad, by the way, in case that name means anything to you. Bingo. No time to waste, let's bring this back to farmhand. The operation is about to start. You need to keep in mind that as squad commander, you must help your men steal their resolve. Giving Hippie a dosage that'll knock him out as he goes under, farmhand starts doubting himself.
Так, хорошо. Препараты начинают действовать, значит и мне пора. Фух. Извиняйте, мужики, не знаю, справлюсь ли я.
Remember how he talked about how much he disliked military stalkers? He was right. They didn't do shit to help Hippie. You trusted him back then, right? He needs to know that you still trust him.
Спасибо за эти слова, командир. Ладно?
Seems like the dosage wasn't enough. Hippie needs to be held down. Even a hard-ass dude like him can't really take the pain of having improvised surgery on his ribs on a fucked up derelict building.
Черт, что вы делаете? Больно. Больно, сука, больно же говорю.
He's delirious, so just give him something to keep his mind occupied. Remind him of the fiction he loves so much, about Pandora and shit like that.
Пандора, космическая тишина, я не здесь.
The surgery from this point on goes without a hitch. After opening him up and removing the bullet, all that's left is to stitch him back up, which is the easy part. He just has to lay down and take it easy until he can walk around again. Going back to Davidov, he'll reassure you that Hippie is tough and will get through it. In the meantime, ZIVCAS' loss of the twins has thrown them into a panic. Huddled around Forge 11, this is perfect timing for Frontier to continue pushing, but Davidov is worried that Covenant might get in the way of things. Seemingly, Covenant is eager and waiting for any chance to drive Frontier out of the northern zone, and skirmishes with Covenant have been particularly hard lately. Goran has yet to return from negotiations with Rice, so it falls on you to go out and thin Metropolit's flock a little. Covenant officers are known to wear chevrons, so go handle a bunch of squads and bring Davidov a bunch of these, about 5 to be precise. By the time you're done with that, Godan will be back from negotiations. While the death of the twins put ZIVCAS on the back foot, it seems to have only emboldened Metropolitan and his flock. It's time to trip them up, so they'll stop fucking around. Go out again and capture one of their outposts.
Прием, боец! Двигай ко мне, я неподалеку. Нас ждет следующая часть операции.
Don't get too comfortable once you're done with that. Godon wants to throw them off a bit further, so now it's time for a little night operation. Kill everyone within, and then lay mines on your way out. Make sure they have to take their sweet time reorganizing. Godon is all too eager to continue messing with Covenant, but Davidov's orders are to focus on the Forge and ZIVCAS, so head back home. Seems pretty important. There's some sort of war council. Bering, Godan, Davidov, and some pretty high-ranking looking riceries here. A dude named Mahorkian. Davidov makes the point that ZIVCAS has been harassing everyone here, and this being their chance to strike back, Mahorkian makes it clear that Chatskie will have the last word, and then leaves after telling them he'll be in touch. Davidov is quite pleased with your efforts thus far, but you won't get any leave just yet. You're expected to lead another offensive. ZIVCAS is regrouping in Forge 11 and Frontier needs to break into the territory to begin a larger push. Bering promises support from military stalkers, plus the Madcaps are eager to get back in combat, seemingly resenting the fact they weren't able to join up during your last assault on the Covenant. You've proven to be quite the commander to your men and an able fighter to the higher ups, so much so, maybe it's time you come up with a new name for your squad. The Madcaps isn't representative of how far you've come, after all. For now, go talk to them so you can hash out a plan. The Madcaps were given mines to place on ZIVCAS routes. Along with that, there's reports of ZIVCAS stashes strewn about the area. Davidov has requested the capture and redistribution of these stashes. You have to split up to get this done in time, so pick your poison. Personally, I must have laid too many mines in my past life because I'd rather go after the stashes. Whatever contents you find must then be brought back to a military stalker hideout. After a few closing words, it's time to head out.
Прием, это Беринг. Слушай, патрули зевкасовских лазутчиков уж очень мешают нам жить.
Bering will need some support while you're out there. There's many operatives in the field after all, so get rid of a couple of ZIVCAS soldiers while you're at it.
Прием. Это снова Нина. Ты совсем близко. Знаешь, мне было даже неудобно после прошлого раза. Я думала сразу тебе все выложить, как только мы опять свяжемся. И тут такое... Бац! Ты на пороге. Раз ты так спешишь, я могу помедлить. Встретимся лицом к лицу. Так тебе все будет понятней.
Don't go home just yet. Since Plastinka will let you know that you got a new task, eliminating ZIVCAS squads, an order from Godan himself. Looks like Frontier is pretty set on thinning them out in preparation for the final assault. So much so, even when you're done with that, it's not time to head home just yet. Godan telling you that he's waiting for you, along with your squad, for a nearby assault on a ZIVCAS institute. It's a pretty large contingent, and with good reason, since there's another important asset in here. A civilian. I'm sure you can recognize him. Solyanikov. It's been a while since you last saw him, but his shitty attitude hasn't been fixed any. Kidnapped and forced to work for ZIVCAS, if the Blue Sphere still exists, he'll let you know that the corporation sometimes spun stories to him telling him that if he helped them, they'd kill Shaman and destroy the Blue Sphere, since its continued existence is what keeps blessed stalkers trapped in here. Solyanikov is a blessed too, after all. Stop me if you've heard any of this, but he'll give you the rundown on ZIVCAS and the Forge. The basic gist of it, the Master of the Zone project is an absolute waste, the costs of production are too high for it to be in any sense feasible, and so it'll be decommissioned and sent back to the mainland to become an interesting relic to show off in exhibitions and museums. So, why are they staying here? If the Master of the Zone was a sham, that is, well, Nina. They discovered an extremely advanced AI in the Forge, with the capacity to influence the noosphere, so whoever controls the AI also controls the noosphere. As you might imagine, this sounds pretty bad, but as Solyanikov puts it, there's not a single fucking chance anyone in their lifetime would ever manage such a thing. Of course, ZIVCAS isn't as aware of this as Solyanikov is, which is why they stayed here for so long. Solyanikov gets captured, time to head back.
Командир, ждем встречи с вами. Кажется, мы свой сектор почти зачистили.
Oh, not yet. Your squad wants to see you, yet you're separated by a wall of ZIVCASers.
Захватите холодненького пива. Что-то я малость подустал на этой работе. Боже, детский сад. Командир, докладываю. Остались только трупы. Мы проверили. В нашем секторе все чисто. Это победа, шеф! Хороните ZIVCAS! Теперь тут правят косые! Пластинка! Эй, стоять! Твои... Стоп! Ты чё это?
Whoa, seems like they're in a bit of a pickle. Might want to step it up. I'm sure they're fine, but...
Что здесь тряслось? Что за... О! Зивкасовцы, твари. Я соболезную, друг. Но мы положили всех бойцов Зивкасов в здании. Отомстили. Что ты имеешь в виду? Не нравится мне то, что ты говоришь, парень.
Давыдов вышел на связь. Мы перегруппируем силы. Рубеж готовится к штурму центра управления. Здесь мы закончили. Гадон, ты позаботишься о Солянникове? Мы занимались зачисткой здания, как и вы. Что произошло? Понял. Соболезную твоей утрате. Я тоже потерял нескольких бойцов. Звучит дико. Послушай. Давыдов хотел видеть тебя вместе с твоим отрядом. Думаю, тебе лучше вернуться к нему на аванпост.
Ты уж прости меня, понимаю твою утрату, но мы посреди зоны боевых действий. Ты хочешь искать предателей здесь и сейчас? Все, кто здесь присутствуют, сражаются с ZIVCAS'ом. Это самое главное. В любой момент сюда могут нагрянуть новые враги. Давай проведем это разбирательство позже, в других обстоятельствах. Конечно, парень, мы их тут не бросим. Двигай к Давыдову, да поскорее.
Ну, думаю, теперь ты что-то начинаешь понимать. Ход событий ускоряется. Наша встреча неизбежна. Я очень жду ее. Заинтригована до чертиков, если честно. А ты?
Everyone says it was ZIVCAS that got to them. Hippie, farmhand, Plastinka. But you know better, it was someone from Frontier. It was a friend of yours, someone close. Still, there's little time for detective work. The joint operation with Rice is fast approaching, so there's little you can do. Or rather, there's little Davidov and Godan will give you permission for. All that remains is to let them know you're ready. And Frontier, bolstered by Rice's support, will begin their final attack on the corporation which ambitioned to monopolize the entire zone.
Что ж, вот мы и нашли друг друга, Искатель. Искатель? Это ведь прозвище среди блаженных, верно? Что, давно его не слышал? Не ласкает слух, как раньше? Я давно ждал этого момента. Пришлось даже терпеть. Но терпение, вознаграждается. Еще недавно я был частью организации, что строила будущее зоны и всего мира. Первопроходцы. Кто бы мог подумать, что это будущее будет украдено тобой? Тобой и твоей вероломной бандой. Я был потрясен, ведь вы сорвали планы самого князя. Что ты вообще знаешь о князе? Что ты смыслишь в его видении мира? Князь боролся за прогресс, а в этой битве об этике редко вспоминают. Но он мог дать нам достойное будущее. Мог. Твое непризнание идей князя говорит лишь о твоей ограниченности. Я пожелал убить тебя, как только увидел. Эти сообщения были для меня своего рода отдушиной. Я хотел дать тебе понять, что роковой час близок. Моя миссия важнее банальной мести. Я, конечно, надеялся, что мне удастся их соединить. Так и вышло. С самого начала я искал путь к князю. Внедрился в рубеж в качестве военстала. Столкнулся с тобой. Решил подождать, проследить за ситуацией. Сапсан встал у меня на пути. Этот параноик все время меня в чем-то подозревал. Ему не нравилось, что он не может нарыть на меня достаточно информации. Пришлось его убрать. Я договорился с Заветом. Принес им голову воинсталов на блюдечке. Та засада с минометами была не на меня, на Сапсана. Сначала я пожалел, что этого не случилось. Но ты, стоит признать, весьма эффективный солдат. Когда я узнал про хозяина зоны больше, то понял. Вот он, ключ к моей миссии. Но чтобы до него добраться, рубежу нужны были силы. Нужен был ты. Я знаю, что князь отправился в Припять. Пути туда с недавних пор стерты, но не для хозяина зоны. Я преподнесу его князю. Это, конечно, не голубой шар, но уверен, князь сможет использовать мощь этого бронекостюма во благо. Вместе мы отыграем то, что утратили первопроходцы. Ты пришел в зону, ведомый зовом голубого шара. Случайная марионетка, которой крупно повезло. Я шел за князем по зову долга. Я понял, что путь, который он предлагает, это путь развития и преобразования. И мой долг защищать его идеи, защищать его мысли, защищать образ будущего, что он начертил. Ты про чьей истинной мощи не распознали близорукие зивкасовцы. Я успел о нем кое-что разузнать. Впрочем, к нашему с тобой делу это не имеет никакого отношения. Уверен, князь уже на пути решения этой загадки. Когда я увидел тебя, склонившегося над их телами, я видел, что ты разбит. Ты испытал то же, что и я. Это, я уверен, не сравнится даже с тем, что я испытаю, когда убью тебя. С хозяином зоны один ты не справишься. А в этом бою ты будешь одинок. Ведь я убил твоих товарищей. Я столько ждал, столько терпел. Но вот, наконец, все сложилось. Мы здесь. Сейчас ты умрешь.
Тебе нужно использовать местный ускоритель частиц, чтобы победить. Для начала активируй консоль.
Рубеж одержал победу над силами спецназа НИИ ZIVCAS. Предатель Беринг разоблачен и уничтожен. А восстановление отношений между рубежом и военными теперь лишь вопрос времени. Хозяин зоны. Удивительный бронекостюм, созданный НИИ ZIVCAS на основе наработок, найденных в Кузне-11, оказался уничтожен. Вместе с бронекостюмом погибли и надежды на то, что его можно будет использовать для путешествия в Припять через заслоны аномалий. Пока никто не знает, удастся ли с толком использовать то немногое, что осталось от хозяина зоны. Как никто не знает и о таинственной Нине и ее планах. Как далеко продвинется ее обучение и к чему приведет ее взаимодействие с ноосферой. Обернется ли ее работа для обитателей зоны добром или худом? Этими вопросами ты задаешься, вглядываясь в линию горизонта.
Once the operation ends, it's time to head back for debriefing. Bering's betrayal took everyone off guard, but your intervention made sure that not only did he not recover the suit, but Nyasa's trailblazers are once again defunct. Of course, Davidov isn't all too aware of them, but all he needs to know is that if they were associated with Bering, they're not friends of Frontier. During the operation, Rice took heavy casualties, which means that Frontier could secure the suit without any hiccups, so this little alliance was about as short as everyone expected it to be. After Phil leaked the Blasov scandal, the military began a widespread purge of its members. Many high-ranking officials are being replaced, and contact has already been made to secure support for Frontier. For the time being, they already managed to resume military stalker training operations, so it seems like the army and Frontier will once again be peace in a pod. The situation in Forge 11 is grim for ZIVCAS. All of their major outposts and operations were destroyed, and while they still retain presence in the area, it's a small contingent of operatives that has little to no potential of being anything other than a nuisance to the local factions. You can tell Davidov about what you saw in the Forge, the AI and the conversation you had with it before it disappeared, but there's little that can be done about it. He's just happy that seemingly no other major players in the zone have any sort of control over it, so all that can be done is to wait and prepare. For all your work, Davidov grants you with a clan voucher to claim any piece of veteran armor from the local armory, along with understanding if you need rest. You're on leave, so to say. Of course, this isn't all of it. There's still one last loose end. Just a stone toss away, behind a wall, and facing the base, you will find 3 graves, with hastily made crosses on top. On them, etched 3 names: Plastinka, Hippie, and Farmhand. What could you do for them right now? What could you say that would net you the best result? That I left too soon? That you wish you could have known them some more? You could tell them that victory was yours in the end, but they'll never get to know that. Truly, it does not matter. They're gone, and nothing you can do will have any effect on them. A salute and a farewell, just to bring this chapter to a close. The Madcaps are no more.